Elena stood by the floor-to-ceiling window in the east wing, her bare feet cold against the imported stone. She wore the same silk robe she'd had on the night he first told her he loved her. 10 years ago, in a different lifetime. Now, the fabric felt heavy, like it remembered things she tried to forget. "Are you even listening?" His voice cut through the quiet like shattered glass. She turned slowly. Marcus stood in the doorway, still in his tailored suit, tie loosened, eyes sharp with impatience. He hadn't touched her in months. Not since the gala in Monaco, when he'd introduced her as "my wife," with the same tone he used to describe his vintage car collection. Polite, distant, proud only of ownership. "I heard you," she said softly. "You said the board meeting ran late." "I said," he snapped, stepping closer, "that I'm tired of pretending." Her breath hitched, not because she was surprised. She'd seen the texts, the late-night calls, the way his phone lit up with her name, but because she'd hoped, foolishly, that he might still choose to pretend for her. "Pretending what?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "That this," he gestured between them, "means something, that you're enough." The words landed like a physical blow. She didn't cry, not yet. Crying would mean she still believed she'd done something wrong. But she hadn't. She'd loved him quietly, fiercely, even when he forgot to look at her. She'd managed his charities, hosted his dinners, held his hand at funerals, smiled when cameras flashed. She'd been his shadow, his echo, his silent foundation. And now he called that nothing. "Who is she?" Elena asked, not because she didn't know, but because she needed to hear him say it, to make it real. He didn't flinch. "Claire. She sees me. Not the empire, not the name me." Elena almost laughed. Claire saw the yacht, the private jet, the way his name opened doors. That wasn't seeing. That was shopping. "And what do you see when you look at me?" she asked. He looked away. A ghost. The rain outside drummed harder. Somewhere, a branch scraped against the roof like a warning. "You want me to leave," she said. It wasn't a question. "I want you to understand this isn't working," he said, adjusting his cufflinks. The one she'd given him on their 5th anniversary. "You're not a vibrant anymore. You've faded." She pressed a hand to her chest, as if she could hold her heart in place. Faded? Because she stopped laughing at his jokes when they weren't funny? Because she stopped pretending his absences didn't carve holes in her? "I'll pack," she said simply. "Good." He turned toward the stairs. "Do it tonight. I don't want Claire to walk into complications." Claire, already living in his future, already in their bed, probably. Elena watched him go, his footsteps echoing through the hollow grandeur of the house they'd built together. A house that suddenly felt like a museum, full of artifacts from a life that never truly belonged to her. She walked to the bedroom slowly, each step heavier than the last. Opened the closet, took down a single suitcase, folded 2 dresses, a sweater, her grandmother's locket. No photos, no souvenirs. Those memories lived in her bones now. As she zipped the bag, she caught her reflection in the mirror. Pale, hollow-eyed, but beneath the exhaustion, something else flickered. Something sharp, quiet, alive. She didn't look back when she walked out the front door. The rain soaked her instantly, cold and cleansing. The driveway stretched long and empty ahead. No car, no plan. Just the weight of the suitcase and the strange, terrifying lightness of being free. Behind her, the mansion stood dark and silent. Still his, for now. But as the gate clicked shut behind her, Elena whispered to the storm, "You threw me out like trash, but you forgot. I was never yours to discard." She found it by accident, 2 weeks after the gala in Monte Carlo. The night Marcus had danced with Claire longer than he'd spoken to her. The night Elena had stood by the champagne fountain, smiling like a statue while guests whispered behind gloved hands. Now, alone in the study, she held the passport like it might burn her. Her fingers trembled. She told herself it meant nothing. Maybe a flight attendant. Maybe a smudge from a hotel pen. But then she saw the receipt tucked behind the back cover. Le Jardin Secret, Private Dining, Monaco. Table for 2. 11:45 p.m. The same night he'd told her he was wrapping up a deal. Her stomach dropped. The room tilted. She sat heavily in his leather chair, the one he used for important calls, and stared at the rain-streaked window. Outside, the garden lights flickered, casting long shadows that looked like grasping fingers. She didn't cry, not yet. Instead, she opened his laptop. Password prompt. She typed their wedding date. Denied. Their anniversary. Denied. His mother's name. Denied. Then, almost as a joke, she typed Claire 1995. The screen unlocked. Her breath stopped. Emails. Dozens of them. Flirtatious, intimate, laced with promises. I can't stop thinking about your hands on me. When can I see you again? This waiting is torture. She doesn't even notice you're gone. Does she? Elena's vision blurred. Not from tears. From rage so deep it felt like ice in her veins. She scrolled faster. Hotel bookings. Shared calendars. A photo, just one. Of Claire leaning against Marcus in a dimly lit bar, her fingers tracing his jaw. His smile soft in a way Elena hadn't seen in years. The betrayal wasn't just in the act. It was in the ease of it. The confidence. The assumption that Elena wouldn't look, wouldn't care, wouldn't matter. That night, she didn't confront him. She waited. 3 days later, she found him in the wine cellar, selecting a bottle for dinner. Their dinner as if nothing had changed. Marcus, she said, her voice calm, eerily steady. He turned, surprised. You're home early. I saw the passport, she said. He froze. The bottle hovered mid-air. Then slowly he set it down. His face didn't crumble. It hardened. So you went through my things, he said, voice low. I found your other life in them, she replied. For a heartbeat, silence. Then he sighed, running a hand through his hair like she was an inconvenience. Elena, it's not what you think. Don't, she whispered. Don't insult me with that. He stepped closer, eyes searching hers. Not with guilt, but with calculation. Look, Claire, she's young, passionate. She makes me feel alive again. You've been distant. Distant. The word cracked like glass. I've been here, Marcus, every single day. While you were building your empire, I held everything together. Your mother's funeral? I planned it while you closed a merger. Your panic attack in Tokyo? I flew there alone and sat with you for 3 days while you refused to call anyone. And you call that distant? He looked away. That was duty, not love. The words struck like a blade between ribs. So this is love? She asked, voice breaking. Sneaking around? Lying? Treating me like furniture you're tired of? He didn't answer, but his silence was louder than any confession. Then softer, almost cruel. You stopped trying, Elena. You stopped being interesting. She laughed. A raw, broken sound. Interesting? Is that what you call her? The woman who laughs at your jokes even when they're not funny? Who wears the dresses you buy her like costumes? That's not love, Marcus. That's performance. And you've always preferred an audience. He flinched, just slightly. She turned toward the stairs, but paused. How long? 6 months. 6 months. While she planned their 10th anniversary trip. While she researched treatments for his insomnia. While she held his hand during his father's last breath. 6 months of being a ghost in her own marriage. She didn't scream, didn't throw things. She simply walked upstairs, packed a small bag, and left the passport on his pillow, open to the page with the coral stain. As she drove away in the rain, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. Her hands gripped the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. But inside, something quiet was rising. Not just pain, but clarity. He hadn't just betrayed her body. He'd erased her worth. And in that moment, Elena made a silent vow. If you see me as nothing, then I will become everything you can't ignore. But on the 4th night, everything shattered. She was in the library, wrapping her grandmother's porcelain teacup. The only thing she'd brought into the marriage, when his voice sliced through the quiet. You're still here. She didn't turn. I'm leaving tomorrow. Then why are you still unpacking your life like you own it? he snapped, stepping inside. He'd been drinking, not enough to slur, but enough to sharpen his cruelty. She set the cup down carefully. Because this was my life, Marcus. Not just yours. He laughed, a dry, hollow sound. You think this house cares about you? These walls? This money? None of it was ever yours. You were just allowed to stay. Her fingers curled into fists. Allowed? I built this home with you. I held you together when your father died. I stood beside you when the world called you a fraud. And you call that permission? He stepped closer, eyes glinting with something dangerous. Don't make this dramatic. You knew what this marriage was. Security for silence. Beauty for status. You got what you wanted. What I wanted. Her voice cracked. I wanted you. Not your name. Not your money. You. And you gave me nothing but echoes. He turned away, pouring himself another whiskey. Well, echoes are all you deserve. Then, without warning, he spun back, voice cold as steel. Get out. Tonight. She blinked. What? You heard me. Pack what you can carry and leave. Now, before Claire arrives tomorrow. The name hit like a slap. Claire. Already scheduled. Already moving in. You're throwing me out for her? Her voice was barely audible. I'm making space for someone who actually wants to be here, he said, not meeting her eyes. Not someone who lingers like a bad memory. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to beg, to remind him of every promise, every sunrise they'd watched in silence, every time she'd chosen him over her own dreams. But pride, raw, bleeding pride, rose like a shield. Fine, she said, voice steady now. I'll go. She walked past him without flinching, back to the bedroom. Her hands shook as she zipped the suitcase. Only half-packed, but it didn't matter. She wouldn't take anything that carried his shadow. As she dragged it down the grand staircase, he stood at the bottom, arms crossed, watching like she was a servant dismissed. You'll have your lawyer send the papers, he said flatly. She stopped on the third step, looked down at him. You won't need to send anything, Marcus, because I'm not signing anything. Not yet. He frowned. What does that mean? It means, she said, voice low and fierce, you don't get to erase me and walk away clean. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. She stepped past him, heels clicking. On marble once, twice, then silence as she reached the door. She turned the handle. Cold night air rushed in. Elena, he called softer now, almost human. She paused, but didn't look back. Don't say my name like you still know me. Then she stepped outside. Rain fell in sheets. No car waited. No friend had been called. She stood on the driveway, suitcase at her feet, soaked within seconds. The mansion loomed behind her, lights blazing, warm, alive, while she stood in the dark, alone, discarded. But as thunder rolled in the distance, something shifted inside her. This wasn't an ending. It was a reckoning. She walked down the long drive, each step heavier than the last, yet lighter in spirit. The city lights glowed far ahead. Somewhere out there, a new life waited, and she would build it, not with his money, not with his name, but with the fire he'd tried to extinguish. Behind her, the front door clicked shut. Final, absolute. But Elena didn't stop walking. Outside a 24-hour diner on the edge of the city, neon sign flickering, steam fogging the windows. She had $87 in her wallet, her grandmother's locket, and the phone in her pocket, which hadn't buzzed once. Not a call, not a text, not even from the staff who'd served her tea for 10 years. She slid into a booth, ordered black coffee, and stared at her reflection in the chipped formica table. Dark circles, chapped lips, eyes hollowed by sleepless nights and swallowed screams. She looked like someone who'd been erased. You okay, honey? The waitress asked, refilling her cup without being asked. Elena almost laughed. Just figuring things out. The woman, gray hair in a bun, name tag reading Dolores, leaned in slightly. Men break hearts, but they don't get to break you. You hear me? Elena nodded, throat tight. She wanted to believe that, She rented a room above a laundromat for $300 a week. Bare mattress, shared bathroom down the hall, walls thin enough to hear every cough and cry from neighboring tenants. That first night, she lay awake listening to a baby wail 3 doors down, and for the first time, she let herself cry. Not delicate tears, great, heaving sobs that shook her ribs, that tasted of salt and fury and grief so deep it felt ancestral. Days blurred. She applied for jobs. Receptionist, barista, data entry. Each rejection stung like a reminder. You're not who you were. You're not enough on your own. One afternoon, standing in line at a temp agency, her phone buzzed. A notification. Claire's Instagram. She hadn't unfollowed her. Couldn't bring herself to look away from the wound. A photo. Claire lounging on their terrace, wearing Elena's cashmere wrap. Caption. New chapter. New home's sparkling heart hashtag blessed. Elena's hands trembled. She deleted the app, then reinstalled it 5 minutes later. Obsession was a slow poison, and she was drinking it willingly. That night, she called the only person she trusted. Lena? Came the voice, warm, familiar. Daniel, her childhood friend, now a corporate lawyer who'd once told her, "If he ever hurts you, I'll burn his empire down with him in it." "I need help," she whispered. "Where are you?" She gave the address. He arrived within the hour, suit rumpled, eyes sharp with concern. Took one look at her and pulled her into a hug so tight she gasped. "He threw you out like trash," Daniel said, voice low with rage. "But you're not trash, Lena. You're steel wrapped in silk." She shook her head. "I don't even know who I am without him." "You never stopped being you," he said firmly. "He just stopped seeing you." He sat her down at the rickety table, opened his briefcase. "Now listen. You signed a prenup, yes, but it's weak. He pressured you during a depressive episode after your mother's death. That's contestable. And more importantly," he paused, "your grandmother, Marguerite Dubois." Elena frowned. "What about her?" "She didn't just leave you that locket," Daniel said, pulling out a sealed envelope. "She left you a trust. Offshore. In your name only. She knew Marcus would try to control everything. So she hid it until you needed it." Elena's breath caught. I didn't know. No one did. Not even Marcus. The documents were held by a private bank in Geneva. They contacted me last week. Said you'd vanished from your last known address. They needed confirmation you were alive to release access. Tears welled again. But this time not from pain. From shock. From the ghost of a love that had protected her long after death. "How much?" she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Enough to buy back your dignity. And then some." That night, Elena sat on the floor of her tiny room. Documents spread around her like sacred texts. Numbers, accounts, properties. Her grandmother's handwriting in the margins. "For when the world tries to bury you, my love, rise." She didn't sleep. She planned. Not revenge. Not yet. Reclamation. She opened a new bank account. Hired a discreet security firm. Changed her phone number. Deleted every trace of her old life online. And then, she did something unexpected. She walked into a women's shelter the next morning, not as a donor, but as a volunteer. Sat with a young woman named Marisol, 8 months pregnant, fleeing an abusive husband. Listened as she whispered, "I feel like I'm nothing." Elena took her hand. "You're everything, and you're not alone." In that moment, she realized her pain wasn't just hers. It was a bridge. Weeks passed. She grew stronger, slept through the night, smiled without forcing it. But every time she passed a newsstand and saw Marcus's face on a business magazine, tech titan Marcus, Bellwether announces new venture with fiancée Claire. Her stomach twisted. Fiancé, so fast, so final. But Elena didn't flinch. She tucked the magazine under her arm, walked to the shelter, and read stories to the children. Because she was learning something vital. Healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about building something so strong that the past couldn't tear it down. And deep inside, a quiet storm was gathering. She didn't know it yet, but the mansion would soon have a new owner. But something about the weight of it, the quiet authority in its silence, made her tear it open right there on the shelter's sunlit porch. Inside, a single key, and a note in Marguerite's looping script. When the world takes everything, remember, you were never empty. The vault beneath the old chapel in Saint Lazare holds what's yours. Not his, not theirs, yours. Elena's breath stopped. Saint Lazare, the village in the French Alps where she'd spent summers as a child, where her grandmother had whispered stories of resistance, of women who hid gold under floorboards while men waged wars. She called Daniel that night, voice trembling. I need to go to France. He didn't ask why. I'll book the flight. Private. Untraceable. 48 hours later, she stood in the rain again. This time in a cobblestone alley, centuries old, mist curling around her boots. The chapel was abandoned, ivy swallowing its stone walls. But the lock on the cellar door clicked open with the key as if it had been waiting for her. Below, in a chamber lit only by her phone's beam, sat a steel safe. Inside, not just cash or jewels, but deeds, stock certificates, a ledger detailing decades of quiet investments made in Elena's name, and a letter dated the week before Marguerite died. My dearest Elena, men like Marcus believe wealth is power. But true power is invisibility, the ability to move unseen until the moment you choose to be seen. I built this for you, not to fight him, but to never need him again. Use it wisely, use it fiercely, and when you're ready, make him see what he threw away. Tears blurred the ink, not from sorrow, from awakening. Back in the city, she met Daniel in a soundproof suite at a discreet hotel. He laid out the full picture. The trust is worth over $280 million, he said quietly. Liquid assets, real estate, equity in 3 biotech startups your grandmother quietly backed. And this is critical, Marcus has been over-leveraged for months. His new AI venture is bleeding cash. Claire convinced him to sell off his core holdings to fund it. He's vulnerable. Elena stared out the window at the skyline, his skyline, once. So what do I do? She asked. You don't chase him, Daniel said. You wait, and when the right moment comes, you step into the light not as his ex-wife, but as someone he can't ignore. 2 weeks later, the news broke. Bellwether Holdings faces liquidity crisis. Mansion listed for urgent private sale. Elena didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She called her banker. I want to buy it, she said. All of it, through the Geneva holding. Anonymous bid, highest possible offer, just enough to win, not enough to raise suspicion. Are you sure? Daniel asked later, over coffee in her new apartment. Modest, sunlit, filled with books and plants, nothing like the cold marble of before. She looked at her reflection in the window, stronger, calmer, eyes no longer hollow, but burning with quiet purpose. I'm not doing this to hurt him, she said softly. I'm doing it to prove to myself that I can walk back into that house and own it. That night, she dreamed of the mansion, not as a prison, but as a stage. And when she woke, she knew. The next time she stepped through those doors, she sat up slowly, heart hammering not with fear, but with something deeper certainty. He doesn't know? No one does. The deed's under Vesper Holdings. Untraceable unless you want it traced. She exhaled, long and slow. Outside, the city slept. But inside her, a storm had stilled into steel. 3 days later, she stood at the iron gates for the first time since that rain-soaked night. The property looked the same, imposing, pristine, arrogant. But now the security code was hers. The locks, hers. The very air, thick with memory, now answered to her breath. She didn't enter through the front door. Not yet. Instead, she walked the perimeter, past the rose garden Marcus had once called too sentimental, past the pool where Claire had posted that photo in her stolen wrap. She stopped at the old oak where she'd carved their initials 10 years ago, now overgrown, almost hidden. Funny, she whispered, how trees keep growing, even when hearts stop. That afternoon, she met with a contractor, not to renovate, She wanted the house untouched, every scar preserved. But to install discreet security, update utilities, and convert the East Wing into private suites. For the shelter, she told him, women who need a safe place to heal. He nodded, used to wealthy clients with quiet causes. And the main residence? I'll be staying, she said simply. That night, she slept in the guest room, the one farthest from the master suite. She didn't turn on the lights, just lay in the dark, listening to the house breathe, the creak of floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant chime of the grandfather clock in the hall. It all belonged to her now, but ownership wasn't the victory. Presence was. The next morning, as sunlight spilled through the stained glass window above the staircase, her phone rang. Elena! It was Marcus's assistant, nervous, hesitant. Mr. Bellwether, he's trying to retrieve some personal items from the house. The new owner hasn't responded to his requests. Do you know anything about that? Elena sipped her tea, calm as still water. I'm sure the new owner will respond in due time. She hung up before the assistant could ask more. 2 days later, a black sedan pulled up to the gate. Marcus stepped out, wearing the same sharp overcoat he'd worn the night he threw her out. He looked thinner, tired, his hair slightly disheveled. Unlike the man who once demanded his tie be perfectly symmetrical. He pressed the intercom. A voice, calm, female, unfamiliar, answered through the speaker. Can I help you? I'm here to collect my belongings, he said, voice tight. I've been authorized. Your name, please? He paused. Marcus Bellwether. Silence. Then, one moment. Elena watched from the second-floor window, hidden behind velvet drapes. She didn't speak into the intercom. She simply pressed a button on the tablet in her hand. The gate didn't open. After a full minute, he pressed again. Hello? I know someone's there. Still silence. Frustrated, he stepped back, scanning the windows. This is ridiculous. I built this house. I have a right to... The intercom crackled to life. You have no rights here, Mr. Bellwether, the voice said, cool, measured, utterly in control. This is private property. Please leave immediately, or I'll contact security. He froze. That voice, it tugged at something deep, something buried. Who is this? He demanded. No answer. Only the soft click of the intercom disconnecting. He stood there for a long time, staring at the mansion like it had betrayed him. Then slowly he got back in the car. But as he drove away, Elena knew he'd be back. Because men like Marcus don't walk away from what they think is theirs. And that was exactly what she was counting on. Later that evening, she stood in the library, the same room where he told her she was distant. She ran her fingers over the spines of books she'd read alone while he was with Claire. Then she opened her laptop and typed a single email to the shelter director. The East Wing is ready. You can bring the first group next week. She saved it, closed the lid. Outside, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves like whispered secrets. The house was no longer a monument to his power. It was becoming a sanctuary for those who, like her, had been told they were nothing. You're safe here, she said softly, stepping aside. Aisha hesitated. This place, it looks like a palace. It's just a house, Elena replied. And now it's yours too. As she showed Aisha to her room, the sunlit suite that had once been Marcus's private study, Elena felt something shift inside her. Not closure, not yet, but purpose. Solid, real. That evening, over soup in the kitchen, Aisha asked, "Who owns this place?" "Some rich donor." Elena stirred her tea, watching steam curl into the air. "Someone who knows what it's like to lose everything and build it back." Aisha nodded, as if that was enough. But the peace didn't last. 2 days later, the news exploded. Tech mogul Marcus Bellwether faces financial collapse. Mansion seized in asset liquidation. Elena read the headline on her tablet while sitting in the garden, the same spot where she'd once waited for Marcus to come home. Now, Aisha and 2 other women laughed nearby, planting herbs in raised beds, life growing where silence once ruled. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel, They're auctioning the rest of his holdings next week, he said. His AI startup failed. Claire bailed, cleared out his safe, changed her number. He's alone. Elena didn't gloat, but she didn't look away either. Good, she said simply. That night, thunder rolled in. Rain tapped the windows like a warning, and then headlights. A car screeched to a halt outside the gate. Not the sleek sedan from before. This one was dented, windshield cracked. Marcus stepped out. No coat, hair soaked, eyes wild. He pounded on the gate. I know you're in there. Open this damn gate. Elena stood at the window, arms crossed, heart pounding, but not from fear, from something sharper, anticipation. She pressed the intercom. State your business. Don't play games with me, he shouted over the rain. I saw the deed transfer. Vesper Holdings, that's you, isn't it? Elena. Silence stretched. Then she spoke, voice calm as ice. You have no right to be here, Marcus. I built this house, he roared. Every brick, every damn light fixture, and you just waltz back in like you own it. I do own it, she said. Legally, fully, irrevocably. He staggered back as if struck. Why? To humiliate me? No, she said, stepping closer to the glass so he could see her silhouette. To heal. This house held my pain. Now it holds hope. That's the difference between us. You only knew how to take. I learned how to give. He stared up at the window, rain streaming down his face. For the first time, she saw it. Not anger, but desperation. The mask had cracked. Please, he whispered, voice breaking. Just let me get my father's watch. It's in the study drawer. It's all I have left. Elena hesitated. She could say no. Lock him out forever. Let him drown in the consequences of his choices. But then she thought of Aisha's trembling hands, of the baby girl born at the shelter last week, of her grandmother's words. Power isn't in crushing others. It's in choosing mercy. On your own terms. I'll bring it to you, she said. She walked downstairs, retrieved the watch, gold worn, engraved with his father's initials, and stepped out onto the covered porch. She didn't open the gate, just held it up through the bars. He approached slowly, like she might vanish. Their eyes met. 10 years of love, betrayal, silence, hanging in the rain between them. He reached for the watch. Their fingers didn't touch. Why are you doing this? He asked, voice raw. After everything I did? Because I'm not you, she said softly. I don't discard people when they're broken. He looked down at the watch, clutching it like an anchor. I lost everything. No, she corrected. You lost what you thought mattered. Maybe now you'll find what actually does. He didn't answer, just turned and walked back to his car, shoulders slumped, a man stripped bare. Elena watched him go, not with pity, not with hate, with finality. Behind her, Aisha appeared in the doorway, holding 2 mugs of tea. He used to live here, didn't he? She asked gently. Elena nodded. He thought this house was his legacy. And now, Elena said, taking the tea, it's ours. The rain slowed. Somewhere in the distance, thunder faded into silence. But the storm inside Marcus? That was just beginning. Not a call. A news alert. Bellwether Mansion listed for private auction. Starting bid, $42 million. Her breath caught. She'd known this was coming. The forced sale was part of his creditor's terms. But seeing it in black and white made it real. The house wasn't just hers anymore. It was a prize. And vultures were circling. That afternoon, Daniel arrived unannounced, briefcase in hand, face grim. They moved faster than expected, he said, pouring 2 glasses of water in the kitchen. His creditors are ruthless. If someone else buys this place, someone who doesn't know your arrangement, the women will be out in 48 hours. Elena's stomach dropped. No, I'm sorry, Lena. You own it now, but if it's sold at auction, the deed transfers clean. No exceptions. She stared out the window at the garden, where Marisol was teaching her toddler to water the lavender. This wasn't just a house anymore. It was a lifeline. How long do we have? She asked, voice steady despite the panic clawing up her throat. 5 days until bidding closes. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Then I buy it. Again. Daniel hesitated. You already own it through Vesper. Bidding under your own entity would expose you. And if Marcus finds out, let him find out, she said, jaw set. I'm not hiding anymore. But even as she said it, doubt flickered. Was this pride or protection? That night, she couldn't sleep. She paced the halls, running her fingers over doorframes, remembering every argument, every lonely dinner, every time she'd cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear. This house had been her cage. Now it was her mission. At dawn, she made her decision. She called her banker in Geneva. Transfer full authority to me. I'm placing a bid under my legal name, Elena Voss. Daniel arrived within the hour. Are you sure? I'm not doing this for him, she said, standing at the grand staircase, sunlight catching the dust in the air like gold. I'm doing it for them, for every woman who's been told she's nothing. This house will be proof that broken things can become sacred. The auction opened online at midnight. Elena sat alone in the library, the room where he told her she was distant. Laptop open, heart pounding. The starting bid, $42 million. Within minutes, 2 anonymous bidders appeared, then a third, then a fourth. She waited. At 12:47 a.m., she entered her bid, $58 million. Silence. Then, a counterbid, $59 million. Her pulse spiked. She typed, $62 million. Another counter, $63.5 million. She recognized the pattern. Aggressive, impulsive, his pattern. Marcus, she whispered. He didn't know it was her, but he couldn't stand the idea of losing the mansion to a stranger. His ego wouldn't allow it. She waited 10 minutes. Let him sweat. Let him max out his last credit line. Then she entered her final bid, $67 million, and added a note in the private message field, visible only to the auctioneer, but she knew he'd find a way to see it. Some things aren't for sale, but this one is, and it's mine. At 1:03 a.m., the auction closed. She won, not through stealth this time, through strength. The next morning, as she served breakfast to the women, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Silence. Then a ragged breath. You, Marcus said, voice hollow. It was you all along. Yes, she replied, calm as still water. You let me throw you out, just to buy it back? No, she said softly. I left because you broke me. I bought it back because I rebuilt myself. He didn't speak for a long moment. When he did, his voice was raw. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have believed me, she said. You only see power when it wears your face. She hung up before he could reply. Outside, the sun rose over the garden. Aisha opened the windows, letting in the scent of jasmine. Elena stood in the center of the foyer, the heart of the house, and finally felt it. Not ownership, belonging, but deep down, she knew Marcus wouldn't disappear. Men like him don't surrender. They scheme, they return, and when he did, she'd be ready. Elena saw him from the second-floor window as she helped Aisha hang new curtains in the sunroom. She didn't flinch, didn't hide, just set down the fabric and walked downstairs. She opened the gate herself. No intercom, no barrier, just the two of them, face to face for the first time since the rain. You bought it, he said, voice low, rough. Not a question, an accusation wrapped in awe. I did. Why? He stepped closer, hands clenched. To watch me suffer? To parade your victory? She crossed her arms, calm as stone. I bought it to give women a place to heal, not to punish you. He let out a bitter laugh. Don't lie to me, Elena. You're not that noble. Maybe not, she said, meeting his gaze without blinking. But I'm not cruel like you. I don't throw people out in the rain and call it progress. He flinched, looked away. I didn't know you'd have nowhere to go. Of course you didn't, she said softly. Because you never saw me. Not really. Silence stretched between them. thick with everything unsaid. Regret, rage, the ghost of love that once lived in this very driveway. Then, quieter, I lost everything, Elena. Claire took what was left. The board ousted me. My name's Mud. And now, this house, the one thing that still felt like mine, is yours. She studied him, not with pity, but with clarity. You didn't lose it, Marcus. You gave it away, piece by piece. Every time you chose her over me, every time you called my love duty, every time you walked past me like I was furniture. He swallowed hard. I was wrong. The words hung in the air, raw, unexpected. Not a tactic, confession. For a heartbeat, she almost softened, almost remembered the man who held her hand during her mother's funeral. The man who whispered, I'll always protect you, on their wedding night. But then she remembered the passport, the coral lipstick, the suitcase in the rain. I believe you, she said finally, but believing you doesn't mean trusting you. He nodded slowly, as if he'd expected nothing less. Can I at least come inside? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Just once, to say goodbye to the place. She hesitated. Every instinct screamed no. But something deeper, something her grandmother would have called wisdom, whispered, let him see what he destroyed. 1 hour, she said. You don't touch anything. You don't speak to the women. And you leave when I say. He nodded, eyes glistening. She led him through the foyer. He stopped dead. The grand piano was gone. In its place, a circle of armchairs, a bookshelf overflowing with novels and parenting guides, a small table with crayons and half-finished drawings. Who are they? He asked, voice strained. Survivors, she said simply. Women rebuilding their lives, just like I am. He walked slowly through the halls, touching nothing, but his eyes devoured everything. The photos on the wall, not of him, not of wealth, but of laughter. The handmade quilts on the couches, the smell of soup simmering in the kitchen. In the library, his old sanctuary, he froze. His father's desk was still there, but now it held a typewriter, a stack of resumes, and a framed photo of Marisol holding her newborn. You turned my study into a job center? He asked, voice trembling. I turned it into a place where people plan futures, she corrected. Not just manage empires. He turned to her, eyes wet. You didn't just take this house, Elena. You gave it a soul. She didn't answer, just watched him crumble. At the top of the stairs, he stopped again. Looked down at the marble floor, the same spot where she'd stood with her suitcase. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. Not because I lost you, but because I never deserved you. For the first time, she saw it. Not the billionaire, not the liar, just a man, broken, humbled, finally seeing what he'd thrown away. I know, she said gently. He nodded, turned to leave, but at the door he paused. Will you ever forgive me? She looked past him, to the garden where Aisha was teaching a little girl to plant seeds. Forgiveness isn't mine to give you, she said. It's yours to earn, and that starts when you stop asking for it and start becoming someone worthy of it. He didn't reply, just walked out. This time he didn't look back. Elena closed the door slowly, leaned against it, breathed. The house was quiet, warm, alive, and for the first time, she didn't feel like she was living in his shadow. She was standing in her own light. But as night fell, a single thought lingered like smoke in the air. But she knew that fragrance. Claire. She didn't touch it, just stared, heart pounding. Then she called Daniel. Someone was here last night, she said, voice low, and they left a message. By noon, security footage confirmed it. A woman in a dark hoodie, face obscured, circling the property at 2:17 a.m., tossing the bottle over the gate before vanishing into the trees. She's desperate, Daniel said over the phone. Marcus cut her off completely. No money, no access, no leverage. She's lashing out. She thinks I'm weak, Elena whispered. No, Daniel corrected. She thinks you're afraid. And that's what makes her dangerous. 2 days later, the rumors started. Whispers in the shelter community. A social worker mentioned hearing that The woman running the Bellwether house had stolen the property through fraud. Another said she'd been Marcus Bellwether's mistress. Not his wife, just another gold digger playing victim. Then came the email, anonymous, sent to every major donor supporting the shelter. Elena Voss is not who she claims. She used offshore shell companies to launder money and seize the mansion illegally. The women there are being used as props in her revenge scheme. Elena read it at the kitchen table, hands shaking not with fear, but with cold fury. That evening, as the women gathered for dinner, Aisha pulled her aside. "People are talking," she said gently, "saying you're not really helping us. That this is all a show." Elena's chest tightened. "Do you believe that?" Aisha looked her in the eyes. "No, but others might. And if funding stops..." She didn't need to finish. Elena spent the night drafting a public statement, clear, factual, unemotional. She released property records, legal filings, even her grandmother's trust documentation. But Claire wasn't fighting with facts. She was fighting with poison. Then the final blow. Package arrived, no return address. Inside, a printed photo of Elena, standing at the gate the night Marcus visited. Scrawled in red ink across her face, "Liar, thief, fraud." Beneath it, a note. "You think you won? He'll never love you again. And soon, no one will." Elena crumpled the note. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She paced the halls, listening to the soft breathing of the women asleep in their rooms. Women who trusted her, who believed in this place. And then, at 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. An unknown number, a voice, breathy and sharp. "Enjoying your little charity project, Elena?" Claire's voice sweeter than poison. "Too bad it's built on lies. One call to the press, and your little sanctuary becomes a scandal." Elena's blood turned to ice. "You won't win." "Oh, I already did," Claire purred. "Marcus is done with you. The world will be next." The line went dead. Elena stood in the dark hallway trembling. Not from fear, but from rage so pure it burned. She walked to the library, opened her laptop, and typed a single command into a secure portal Daniel had set up months ago. "Activate Sentinel Protocol." Within hours, a team of forensic accountants and cybersecurity experts began tracing every digital footprint Claire had left. Bank transfers, burner phones, even the IP address from the threatening call. 2 days later, Daniel called. "We've got her," he said. "She's been funneling money from Marcus's offshore accounts into a fake nonprofit, her scam, and she used your name to cover her tracks." Elena closed her eyes. "Good, good? She could destroy you." "No," Elena said, voice steady. "She just handed me the rope to hang her with." That afternoon, she didn't confront Claire. She sent a single email to the district attorney, the financial crimes unit, and 3 major news outlets, with evidence of Claire's fraud, including voice recordings, transaction logs, and a signed affidavit from Marcus's former CFO. Then she waited. By evening, Claire's social media went dark. By midnight, news broke. Former Bellwether associate arrested in $4.2 million fraud scheme. Elena didn't celebrate. She sat on the porch, watching the stars, listening to the quiet hum of the house. Aisha joined her, handing her a cup of tea. "She's gone," Aisha said softly. "For now," Elena replied. "But women like her always come back, in new forms." Aisha hesitated. "Are you scared?" Elena looked at the garden, now full of blooming lavender, children's drawings taped to windows, life reclaiming every inch of this place. "No," she said, "because I'm not fighting alone anymore." And deep in the city, Claire sat in a holding cell, realizing too late. She hadn't just underestimated Elena. She'd gasp awake in the middle of the day, heart hammering, hands clutching the counter like it might vanish. It wasn't fear. It was memory, raw, uninvited, rising like smoke from a fire she thought she'd extinguished. One afternoon, while sorting donated clothes with Marisol, she froze. A silk robe, deep red, just like the one she'd worn the night he threw her out, slipped from a box. The fabric felt identical. She dropped it like it burned. "You okay?" Marisol asked, frowning. Elena forced a smile. "Just a bad memory." But that night, alone in her room, she couldn't sleep. She opened the small wooden box on her nightstand, the one holding relics from her old life. Not photos, not jewelry, just fragments. A ticket stub from their first date, a dried rose from their wedding bouquet, the receipt from the diner where she'd sat that first night alone. She touched the rose, brittle, color long gone. "You were never empty," her grandmother had written. But sometimes, in the silence, she still felt hollow. The next morning, as she walked through the garden, Aisha found her staring at the old oak tree, the one with their carved initials, now nearly swallowed by bark. "He really loved you once, didn't he?" Aisha asked gently. Elena didn't answer right away. "Yes, in his way. But love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice. And he stopped choosing me." Aisha nodded. "I keep waiting for my ex to realize what he lost. Like it'll magically fix everything." "It won't," Elena said softly. "Healing doesn't come from him seeing you. It comes from you seeing yourself." But even as she said it, doubt flickered. Later that week, while reviewing shelter finances in the library, she found an old photo tucked inside a ledger, taken during their 5th anniversary trip to Santorini. Marcus, tanned and smiling, arm around her waist, whispering something that made her laugh. Her eyes, bright, unguarded, alive. She hadn't realized how much light she'd carried before he dimmed it. Tears fell onto the page, not from longing, from grief, for the woman she'd been, who believed love meant sacrifice, who thought staying was strength. That evening, she lit a fire in the study hearth, the same room where he'd told her she was distant. She held the photo over the flames. For a long moment, she hesitated. Then she let it go. The edges curled black. The smiles vanished in smoke. She didn't watch it burn. She turned and walked to the common room where the women were playing cards and laughing. Marisol looked up. "You okay?" Elena sat beside her, took a deep breath. "I just buried a ghost." No one asked what she meant. They didn't need to, because they all had ghosts. But here, in this house that once symbolized power and possession, they were learning something new. That the past could ache, but it didn't have to own you. Still, as Elena lay in bed that night, she heard it. The echo of his voice, softer now, almost tender. "You were my home, Elena. I just forgot how to see it." She closed her eyes, and for the first time she didn't flinch, because she knew home wasn't a man. This house had been a monument to Marcus's ego, cold, perfect, untouchable. But now, it breathed, it healed, it lived, and still, it wasn't enough. That evening, over tea in the kitchen, Elena turned to Daniel, who'd come to review the shelter's expansion plans. "What if we do more than just house them?" she asked, voice low but urgent. "What if this place becomes a launch pad?" He raised an eyebrow. "You mean a foundation?" "Yes," she said, eyes lighting up. "Not just shelter. Job training, legal aid, therapy, a full ecosystem of support all under this roof. We'll call it the Vesper Initiative, after my grandmother's trust." Daniel leaned forward. "It's ambitious, expensive. I have the resources," she said. "And more importantly, I have the reason." 2 weeks later, she stood before the women in the common room, heart pounding. "I want to turn this house into something permanent," she announced. "A non-profit, a beacon, for every woman who's been told she's nothing, who's been discarded, erased, or used. This will be proof that you can rise, even from the rain." Silence. Then Aisha stood. "I'll help," she said firmly. "I was a paralegal before everything fell apart. I can run the legal clinic." Marisol nodded. "I'll teach parenting workshops and childcare." One by one, they stepped forward, offering skills, time, hope. Elena's eyes filled. This wasn't her vision anymore. It was theirs. The next day, she met with architects. They sketched plans to convert the West Wing into classrooms, the ballroom into a community kitchen, the garage into a counseling center. Every room would serve a purpose. Every wall would hold a story. But that night, as she walked the empty halls, she paused outside the master suite, the room she'd never entered since returning. She turned the handle. Dust floated in the moonlight. The bed was stripped, the closet empty. But the view, the same view she'd stared at for years, waiting for him to come home. She stepped inside and made a decision. The next morning, she called a contractor. Demolish the master suite, she said. In its place, build a library for the children, full of books about courage, about women who changed the world, about girls who learned they were enough. The contractor blinked. Are you sure? That's the heart of the house. No, she said softly. The heart is wherever someone finally feels seen. Work began the following week. As walls came down, so did the last remnants of his reign. But Elena didn't watch with satisfaction. She watched with peace, because this wasn't revenge. It was resurrection. And deep in the city, Marcus heard the news. Elena Voss launches the Vesper Initiative at former Bellwether Estate. And for the first time, he didn't feel anger. He felt awe, because the woman he'd thrown out in the rain hadn't just survived. She'd built a sanctuary from the wreckage. And he knew, no matter what he did, he'd never be worthy of stepping inside it. Elena saw him from the library window. The new one, filled with children's laughter and shelves of books about Harriet Tubman, Malala, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She didn't panic, didn't hide. She simply set down the book she was reading with a little girl named Lily and walked downstairs. She opened the gate. You look lost, she said. I am, he admitted, voice rough but steady. But not in the way you think. She crossed her arms, not unkindly. Then what do you want, Marcus? He looked past her, at the mural the women had painted on the side of the house. A phoenix rising from broken chains. I read about the Vesper Initiative, the job training, the legal aid, the way you turned this place into something alive. It was always alive, she said softly. You just never let it breathe. He flinched but didn't argue. I brought something. From his coat, he pulled a small velvet box. Not jewelry. She knew that looked too well. He opened it. Inside, the deed to a modest apartment building downtown. Fully paid off, tenants included, income stable. I sold what was left of my private holdings, he said. This is clean. No debts. No strings. I want you to have it for the initiative. For housing. She stared at it. Not with suspicion, but with sorrow. You think this fixes it? She asked. No, he said quickly. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect thanks. But I needed to do something that wasn't for me. For once. She studied his face. The lines around his eyes deeper now. The arrogance gone. Replaced by something fragile. Humility. Why? She whispered. Because I finally saw you, he said, voice breaking. Not the wife who served my dinners or smiled at my parties. You, the woman who stayed when I was unbearable, who loved me even when I forgot how to be loved. And I threw that away for glitter. He looked down. Claire didn't want me. She wanted what I represented. But you wanted me, and I was too blind to hold on. Elena's chest ached, not because she wanted him back, but because she remembered loving him truly, fiercely, and that love deserved better than to be reduced to a cautionary tale. She didn't take the deed. Instead, she stepped closer. Marcus, you don't need to buy your way back into my life. You need to build a new one, on your own. He nodded slowly. I know. Then start there, she said, pointing to the apartment building in his hand. Don't give it to me. Run it yourself. Hire women from the shelter as managers. Learn what it means to serve, not control. He looked up, stunned. You trust me with that? I trust the man you're trying to become, she said. Not the one who threw me out in the rain. For the first time, he smiled. A real one, small and sad and hopeful. They stood in silence for a long moment, the wind rustling the new lavender in the garden. Then, quietly, do you ever think about us? The way we could have been. She didn't look away. Every day, but not with regret, with gratitude, because losing you taught me how to find myself. He swallowed hard. I don't deserve you. No, she agreed gently. You don't. But that doesn't mean you can't become someone who deserves himself. He closed the box, tucked it away. Thank you, he said. For what? For not letting me stay broken. She watched him walk away, not toward a car, but down the street, shoulders straighter than they'd been in years. Inside, Lily tugged her sleeve. Who was that, Miss Elena? A ghost, she said softly. But I think he's learning how to be real. And as the sun dipped below the trees, Elena knew. This wasn't reconciliation. It was release, for both of them. But deep in her chest, a quiet question lingered. Unanswered, unresolved. What if he changes enough to be worth a second chance? She didn't know. Elena told herself it was over, that he'd taken her words to heart and vanished into the quiet work of rebuilding. But then, on a Tuesday morning, Aisha rushed into the kitchen, breathless. There's a man outside, she said, eyes wide. He's carrying boxes. Says he's here to fix the boiler. Elena frowned. We didn't call anyone. She stepped onto the porch, and there he was, not in a suit, in worn jeans, a faded t-shirt, hands smudged with grease. Kneeling beside the old heating unit, tools spread around him like offerings. You're doing plumbing now? She asked, arms crossed. He looked up, sweat on his brow, but his eyes were calm. I apprenticed with a contractor for 6 weeks. Learned HVAC, basic electrical, drywall. Figured if I'm going to manage that building, I should know how it works. She stared. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, he said, standing slowly. Besides, I heard your boiler's been acting up. And I remembered how you always hated cold mornings. Her breath caught. He remembered. Not the gala dresses. Not the boardroom strategies. The small, human things. She didn't invite him in, but she didn't send him away. He worked in silence for hours, focused, precise. At noon, Marisol brought him a plate of food. He thanked her quietly, ate on the back steps. Later, as he packed his tools, Elena approached. Why are you really here, Marcus? He paused, looked at her, not with longing, but with honesty. Because I'm tired of being the villain in your story. And I'm tired of being my own. She waited. I used to think power was control, he said, voice low. Money, influence, making people need you, but losing everything. It showed me the truth. Real power is showing up when no one's watching. Fixing what's broken without being asked. Staying when it's hard. He met her eyes. I'm not here to win you back, Elena. I'm here to prove to myself that I can be someone who deserves to stand in the same room as you. Her throat tightened. She wanted to doubt him, to protect the fragile piece she'd built. But something in his voice, the raw, unpolished truth of it, cut through her defenses. Then keep showing up, she said finally. But not for me. For you. He nodded. I will. Days turned into a rhythm. Every Tuesday and Thursday he returned, not as Marcus Bellwether, billionaire, but as Marcus, the handyman. He fixed leaky faucets, rewired the old security system, even helped build a wheelchair ramp for a new resident. The women watched him, whispered, but slowly they stopped flinching when he arrived. One afternoon, Lily, now 7, bright-eyed and fearless, ran up to him as he painted the community room. Are you Miss Elena's friend? She asked. He froze, looked at Elena, who stood in the doorway. I'm trying to be, he said gently. Lily nodded. Good. She needs more friends. That night, Elena found him washing brushes in the utility sink. You're different, she said. He turned off the tap. Or maybe I'm just finally who I was supposed to be all along. She leaned against the doorframe. It's not enough, you know. One act of kindness doesn't erase years of neglect. I know, he said, but it's a start. And for the first time, she believed him. Not because he said it, but because he was doing it quietly, consistently, without expectation. Still, as she lay in bed that night, a new fear crept in. Not of him hurting her again, but of her heart softening too soon. Because if she let him back in, even a little, what if he changed his mind? What if she was wrong? She threw on a robe and ran into the hall, shouting, "Fire! Everyone out now!" Lights flickered on. Doors opened. Women scrambled, clutching children, grabbing emergency kits. Within minutes, they were all on the front lawn, huddled in nightgowns and coats, faces pale in the moonlight. Flames licked the East Wing, the wing housing the job training center, the legal clinic, the room where Marisol's baby had taken her first steps. And then sirens, red and blue flashing through the trees. But before the fire trucks even arrived, a figure sprinted from the woods, covered in soot, coughing violently. Marcus. He'd been sleeping in his truck nearby, something Elena hadn't known, keeping watch like a silent penitent. He must have seen the smoke first. "He's got someone," Aisha screamed. Elena's blood turned to ice. Marcus staggered out of the burning wing, arms cradling 8-year-old Lily, who'd stayed late helping paint welcome signs for new arrivals. Her face was streaked with ash, eyes wide with terror, but alive. He collapsed on the grass just as firefighters rushed in. Elena dropped to her knees beside them. "Lily! Marcus!" Lily coughed, then whispered, "He came back for me. I couldn't find the door." Marcus lay on his side, breathing ragged, hand pressed to his ribs. One of the firefighters knelt beside him. "Possible broken rib. Smoke inhalation. We need to get him to the hospital." Elena looked at him, really looked. His shirt was singed, his hands blistered, but his eyes, they held only relief that Lily was safe. Later, at the hospital, she sat in the waiting room while Lily slept peacefully in a nearby bed, monitored but stable. Aisha and Marisol stayed with her. The others returned to the mansion, now half dark, half ruined, but still standing. When the doctor finally emerged, he said Marcus would recover. Lucky he got out when he did. Another minute, Elena nodded, numb. She found him in a private room, for in his arm, oxygen tubes under his nose. He looked exhausted, broken, but awake. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped. "I should," she said, sitting beside the bed. "You saved her." He turned his head slowly. "I didn't do it for you." "I know," she said softly. "You did it because it was right." Silence stretched, thick with everything unsaid. Then, quietly, "I saw the accelerant, near the back door. It wasn't an accident." Her stomach dropped. "Claire, she's out on bail," he said. "I heard she's been posting online, calling you a fraud, saying the fire was your fault for housing criminals. She's trying to burn your reputation, and now, literally." Elena's hands curled into fists. "She won't win." "No," Marcus said, voice stronger now. "But she almost took Lily." The weight of that settled between them, cold, terrifying. Elena looked at his blistered hands, the bandages, the pain in his eyes. This wasn't the man who threw her out in the rain. This was someone who'd run into fire for a child who wasn't his. "Why?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why risk your life for us?" He met her gaze, eyes clear, unguarded. "Because I finally understand what matters. Not power, not pride, people. And you built something worth protecting." Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear, but from the unbearable weight of hope. She reached out, hesitated, then gently covered his hand with hers. He didn't pull away. Outside, dawn began to break, pink and gold over the city skyline. The mansion still stood, scarred but unbroken. The women were safe. Lily would wake up smiling. And Marcus had chosen, in the darkest hour, to be a hero. Not for glory, not for her, but because he'd finally become the man he was always meant to be. Elena didn't say thank you, didn't say I forgive you. She just stayed. And in that quiet hospital room, with the scent of smoke still clinging to their skin, something fragile and real began to grow. Not a rekindling of the past, but the first root of a new future. Women didn't leave. They gathered in the undamaged rooms, wrapped in donated blankets, telling stories late into the night to drown out the memory of sirens. Elena stood in what remained of the library 3 days later, staring at the charred bookshelves. Lily's favorite, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, was gone. So was the ledger tracking every woman who'd found refuge here. But then Aisha handed her a box. "We saved what we could," she said softly, "while you were at the hospital." Inside, the children's drawings, the welcome binder, the list of names, over 200 women who'd walked through these doors and walked out stronger. Elena's throat tightened. That evening, as rain began to fall, gentle, cleansing, she sat at the kitchen table with Daniel and Marcus. He'd been released that morning, ribs wrapped, voice still rough, but insistent on being there. "I've spoken to the insurance adjuster," Daniel said. "They'll cover most of the damage, but rebuilding will take months. And Claire's lawyers are already filing motions to delay, claiming suspicious circumstances." Elena didn't flinch. "Let them try." Marcus shifted in his chair. "There's another option." They both looked at him. He took a breath. "Sell it." Silence. "Not to just anyone," he continued quickly. "To the city, or a national nonprofit. Turn it into a permanent center, fully funded, legally protected. You keep running it, but the asset isn't tied to you personally. Claire can't touch it. Creditors can't seize it. It becomes untouchable." Elena stared at him. "You want me to sell the mansion? I want you to free it," he said gently. "This place shouldn't be a symbol of your pain or your victory. It should just be a home for whoever needs it next." She looked out the window at the scorched garden, at Lily helping Marisol plant new seeds in the soot-streaked soil. "You'd be giving up your last claim to it," she said quietly. He smiled faintly. "I gave that up the night I threw you out in the rain. This isn't mine to keep. It never was." Something in his voice, the lack of ownership, the quiet surrender, undid her. Later that night, she walked the halls alone, running her fingers over blackened doorframes, breathing in the scent of ash and rain. This house had been her cage, her battlefield, her sanctuary. But maybe it didn't need to be hers forever to matter. The next morning, she called a meeting with the women. "I'm selling the mansion," she announced. Gasped. Confused murmurs. "But this is our home," Marisol said, eyes wide. "It will still be," Elena promised. "Just not mine. We'll partner with a national foundation. They'll fund full restoration, fireproofing, solar panels, expanded housing. And you'll all have lifetime access. This place will belong to every woman who needs it, not just the ones who find it while I'm here." Aisha studied her. "Is this really what you want?" Elena looked around the room, at the faces that had become her family. "I don't need to own it to love it, and I don't need to stay to protect it." She paused. "Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let go." 2 weeks later, the deal was signed. Not in a boardroom, in the half-ruined garden, under a canopy of newly planted jasmine. Elena handed the deed to the director of the National Women's Resilience Network, tears in her eyes but peace in her chest. As the women cheered, Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, watching her. She walked over. "You did this," she said. "You gave me the idea." "No," he said softly. "You gave yourself permission." She looked at the mansion, scarred, healing, alive. "I'm leaving," she added quietly. "After the transfer, I've been offered a role advising shelters across the country. I can do more if I'm not anchored to one place." He nodded, didn't ask her to stay, didn't beg, just said, "Wherever you go, I hope you find peace." "I already did," she said, glancing at him. "Right here." And for the first time, she meant it, not as a memory, but as a truth. The house would live on, and so would she. Elena stood in the driveway, suitcase at her feet. Smaller this time, packed with purpose, not panic. The mansion behind her was wrapped in scaffolding, workers already rebuilding what fire had stolen. New beams rose like ribs mending. Fresh paint covered the scars. She wasn't running. She was rising. Aisha and Marisol hugged her tightly, tears in their eyes but smiles on their lips. Lily pressed a folded drawing into her hand. A phoenix with wings made of women holding hands. "You'll come back, right?" Lily whispered. "Not to live," Elena said, kneeling, "but to visit. Always." She stood, turned, and froze. Marcus stood at the edge of the garden, hands in his pockets, wearing the same gray coat from that first Sunday. He hadn't spoken to her in days, had kept his distance, as if sensing this moment needed space to breathe. Now he stepped forward. They faced each other in silence, the wind carrying the scent of wet earth and new jasmine. "I came to say goodbye," he said finally, voice low. She nodded. "You already did, in 100 quiet ways." He looked down, then back up, eyes raw with something too deep for pride. "I need to say it out loud. One last time." She waited. "I'm sorry, Elena." His voice cracked. "Not just for throwing you out. For every time I made you feel small. For choosing glitter over gold. For not seeing you, really seeing you until you were gone." She didn't look away. "I know. I don't expect you to forgive me," he continued. "And I'm not asking you to stay. But I needed you to know. You gave me back my soul. Not by coming back, but by walking away and building something beautiful without me." Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the unbearable weight of truth. She stepped closer. "You didn't lose me, Marcus. You lost yourself, and you found your way back. That's your victory, not mine." He swallowed hard. "Do you think we could have been different? If I'd chosen better?" She touched his arm just once. "Maybe, but we'll never know. And that's okay, because who we are now is enough." He nodded slowly, as if letting go of a dream he'd clung to too long. Then, softly, "Where will you go?" "First, Chicago, then maybe New Orleans. There's a network of shelters starting a legal aid coalition. They need someone who's been through the fire." He almost smiled. Fitting. Silence settled between them, not empty, but full. Full of everything they'd been, everything they'd lost, everything they'd become. "I'll miss you," he said. "I'll miss the man you're becoming," she replied. And then, without warning, he pulled a small envelope from his coat. "For the road," he said. She opened it later, in the back of the car, as the city faded behind her. Inside, a one-way ticket to Lisbon, her grandmother's birthplace, and a note in his careful script. "Some journeys begin with loss, but yours? Yours began with courage. Go find the rest of your story. M." She pressed the ticket to her chest and looked out the window. She wasn't hiding. She was breathing. The flat was modest. White walls, terracotta floors, a writing desk by the window. On it sat a growing stack of letters. Not emails, not texts, letters. Handwritten, sealed with wax, addressed to women she'd never met, but whose stories had reached her through the network. A teenager in Detroit escaping trafficking. A mother in Nairobi rebuilding after domestic violence. A widow in Mumbai starting a sewing co-op with other survivors. Each letter carried a piece of her truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. Your pain is real, but it is not your identity. The world tried to erase you. Write your name back in. She wrote them late at night by lamplight with the same pen her grandmother had used. Ink stained her fingers like a vow. One afternoon, as she walked through the Alfama district, the scent of grilled sardines and orange blossoms thick in the air, her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Claire pled guilty. 5 years plus restitution. She's done. Elena stopped beneath the canopy of bougainvillea. She didn't feel triumph. Not even relief. Just closure. Like a door clicking shut in a house she no longer lived in. That evening, she sat on the balcony with a glass of Vinho Verde and opened her laptop. A video call blinked to life. Aisha, Marisol, and Lily, grinning from the newly restored common room of the mansion, now officially the Vesper Center. Look, Lily held up a framed photo. Elena, standing in the garden on her last day, sunlight in her hair. We put it in the Hall of Founders. Elena's eyes filled. You didn't have to do that. Yes, we did, Aisha said firmly. Because you showed us that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about building something so strong, the past can't tear it down. They talked for an hour about funding, about new arrivals, about Marcus. He comes by every Thursday, Marisol said casually, stirring soup in the background. Fixes whatever's broken, never stays for dinner, but he always asks about you. Elena looked out at the river, shimmering under twilight. And what do you tell him? That you're changing the world, Aisha said softly, one letter at a time. After they hung up, silence settled like a blanket. She walked to the desk, picked up a fresh sheet of paper, and began to write. Not to a stranger this time, but to herself. Dear Elena, you stood in the rain and thought you were nothing, but you were everything. The courage to leave, the strength to return, the grace to rebuild, the wisdom to let go. You are not defined by the man who discarded you. You are defined by the women you lifted. Keep writing, keep walking. The world needs your light. You, she sealed it, placed it in the drawer with the others, and stepped back onto the balcony. Below, the city hummed with life. Strangers laughing, boats drifting on the river, the distant chime of a church bell. She wasn't alone. She never had been, because every woman she'd helped, every letter she'd sent, every seed she'd planted in scorched earth, they were all part of her now, a constellation of resilience stretching across continents. And somewhere, in a mansion-turned sanctuary, a little girl read her words and believed them. That was enough. Global mentorship network connecting survivors, lawyers, and healers across 23 countries. She still wrote by hand, still sealed each envelope with wax, still believed in the power of one voice telling another, you are not alone. That morning, a package arrived. No return address, just a familiar wax seal. A rose. Her breath caught. Inside a book, leather-bound, worn at the edges. She opened it. Blank pages. Tucked between them, a single sheet of paper in Marcus's handwriting. You gave me back my soul. Now I'm giving you space to write yours. Beneath it, a key. Not to a mansion, not to a past, but to a small cottage on the cliffs of Sintra. Purchased in her name, deed clean, no strings. Just a quiet place to write, to rest, to be. She didn't cry. She smiled, because this wasn't a plea. It wasn't a trap. It was a gift, offered without expectation, held without possession. That evening, as the sun dipped into the Atlantic, she sat at her desk and began a new letter. Not to a stranger, not to herself, but to Lily, now 9, who'd written her every month without fail. Dear Lily, you asked me once if I ever go back to the mansion. I don't need to, because I carry it with me. In every woman who walks through its doors, in every child who learns her name matters, in every room rebuilt from ash. The house was never stone and glass. It was courage. And courage doesn't live in one place. It lives in us. Keep planting seeds, little phoenix. The world is waiting for your fire. Elena, she sealed it, addressed it, and walked down to the post office. On the way back, she passed a cafe where an elderly woman sat alone, staring at the river with tired eyes. Elena hesitated, then sat across from her. Beautiful evening, she said gently. The woman looked up, surprised. Then slowly she nodded. They didn't exchange names. Didn't need to, because sometimes healing begins with a single sentence. A shared silence. The quiet understanding that you're seen. As Elena walked home, the wind carried the scent of orange blossoms and salt. Behind her, the city glowed. Ahead, the cottage key weighed warm in her pocket. She wasn't running, wasn't hiding, wasn't waiting. She was living fully, fiercely, freely. And in that moment, she finally understood the truth her grandmother had known all along. You don't need a mansion to be whole. You just need to know you're